So we got back to Dutch Harbor 2 days ago, and last winter here was a lot rougher than the winter before when we left the boat. So there's actually a little bit of damage, not too bad considering the size of the storm. People's roofs got blown off and tons of windows got broken, so we can't really complain. You can see here though that the tow rail got really mashed up. What happened was that the boat got caught underneath the dock and was pounding up against the bottom of, like, underneath the dock. So this got all chewed up. So I just finished up sanding this crack here below the tow rail. I was sanding it to get it ready to put epoxy in. You can see this chain plate here got bent. So we're gonna have to repair that, pull it out and put a new chain plate in.
We just took the upper shroud off the chain plate here, just sticking it on the Yankee track for the moment to keep it somewhere. And then we gotta pop off a little plate here that just sort of keeps all the bedding in around the chain plate, and then we'll try and get the chain plate out.
Finally got the chain plate out. Seth actually had to use this monster hammer that our friends loaned us to get it out, but it finally came. And it's just kind of amazing what this storm did. It was a former typhoon. It was a typhoon over in Japan, and then it came up here, and 120-mile-an-hour winds are reported. So people's roofs were blowing off, and all these car windows were broken, and actually our decks were full of these rocks that had blown off the road onto the boat. It's kind of amazing. Back here you can see this turnbuckle that got totally mashed. I mean, some serious force to cause that kind of distortion on that metal there.
So we're just finishing installing the new chain plate. Had to take the old one off, bolt the new one on, and then the original builder had put a little moat of epoxy around it where it comes through the deck to try and keep water out, so we've done the same thing. Now I'm putting the little cap plate on here bedded with some life caulk, and hopefully that'll keep everything dry.
And then the jib track here got damaged, and actually you can see this top to the jib track got, like, I don't know how it managed to get in there, but yeah, and it's pretty solidly in there.
Just finishing replacing the stay cars on both sides and the jib cars on the port side. The stay cars just got banged up for sort of general use. You can see here this one got pretty mashed. So that was just from last summer. Going up north, so those needed replacing, and then on the port side the tow rail got caught under the dock in a big blow here, and that mashed up both the jib cars there, so they needed replacing as well. So we got these fancy new ones, and should be pretty much all set to sail now.
And then the last thing that happened were these stanchions got pretty badly bent here and that one there, so we'll probably have to replace those. If they're leaking, we'll replace them now, and if not, then we might replace them later. But so that adds some more work to what we would usually do. But otherwise the boat weathered the winter pretty well. You can see that we took all the halyards out like last winter, and yesterday we put 2 of them back in.
Same routine as last year. We took a bunch of junk off the mast so that the eagles wouldn't get at it. Got most of that back on okay, but some of the trace line that we put in where the halyards go chafed right through, and we lost the trace, so we're having to rerun it here. So what we've done is just stick a little fishing weight on the end of the little spool of line here, chuck that in through the sheave, and that goes down the mast, then down at the bottom. Ellen will fish it out, and that gives us a new trace so that we can rerun the halyard where it belongs. In it goes.
We put plywood over the solar panels, which was really good because this storm, you know, broke a lot of glass, and so I think if we hadn't done that, those might have gotten broken. We've been here a couple days, so the boat doesn't look completely like it did when we left it, but still pretty close. You can see that we took everything off the boat, so like there's no cushions, and these sails are actually sort of more spread out so that they wouldn't mildew. We took all the food off the boat, so there's nothing in any of these cabinets, and we had left some of these floorboards up to air out the bilge. Basically, we were just trying to keep everything dry and like prevent that sort of stinky boat smell and mildew and stuff from growing. And actually, the biggest weapon in our arsenal against mildew is this dehumidifier. You know, it runs on electricity, and we would put a little hose in here and drain it right into our galley sink, so it would just drain continuously all winter and keep it at about 55% humidity instead of like the normal 80-90% that exists here. Oh, it's cold. Had a little bit of disaster this morning when I was filling up the water tanks, and then I opened up the bilge and it was totally full of water. So I thought there was a leak somewhere, like in our foot pump or something, but it turned out it was because we had disconnected all the lines for our water maker, and so it was coming back out where the water maker puts water in. So here's the Catadine water maker all hooked up and ready to use. This is where the fresh water comes out of the water maker and goes into the tanks. And I had disconnected it last fall on this end, on the water maker end, and so when I filled up the tanks with the hose, it was all just draining out into the bilge. But now that's fixed and the water maker is ready. As well as awesome wildlife, the Aleutian Islands have a lot of history. The outermost two, Attu and Kiska, were invaded by the Japanese in World War II, and Dutch Harbor was bombed. There's still a lot of stuff around from the war, like these Quonset huts here on the top of Bunker Hill.